Good afternoon. Welcome back to American Truck Simulator. It's already afternoon on Saturday. We're here in Belfast and going to be getting back on the road, getting on the ferry up in Larne in order to get over to Britain and then travel on up to Scotland. Don't think we'll be able to finish this job today, but we will get pretty close. Probably will get to Scotland. We're gonna hop this curb and drive in the garden a little bit. Really tight in here. Don't know if you noticed how messy my truck has gotten. Got a little, okay. Thanks, jerk. You real? Are you guys kidding? You kidding me? Okay, they're not gonna let me go, even though I got my nose halfway out in the road. Guess I should have gone a little further. Watch me get hit here. Alright, we made it. Didn't get hit yet. Gonna be just traveling right back down the road we came in on, and then we'll be getting back on the expressway. I believe it's the M1. Hauling a load of wood shavings up to Scotland. 14 tons to EV Agrovista. Biggest question I have is why is no one else able to stop? And this is a question I have in real life, because it seems to happen to me all the time here in China, is that I have the right of way, or I'm in the path now, right? So I've established my right of way now that I'm in the path. So why do people insist on driving into me then? And I have this happen when I have green lights, or the other people have a stop sign. They'll just drive right into me as I'm driving through an intersection. That happens here with the AI on this game. It also happens to me in real life a little bit too often. So luckily Didn't get too much damage there at all. End of motorway regulations. Ah, I see we are now going down to just a 2-lane highway. Whoa. Ay. And if I back up, I'm probably gonna hit someone too, right? Well, already a nice, gloriously successful start for this trip. This Saturday afternoon, already got hit going through a roundabout. Now rear-ended a small car and an SUV at a stoplight as we get near Larney. Alright, we got about 9.5 hours of driving time, probably closer to 9 hours of driving time, but 13.5 hours to go. Not sure how much. Of course, we'll probably gain a little bit of time back from the ferry ride. So this will probably turn into a longer episode for that reason. Definitely much heavier traffic in Euro Truck Simulator. The traffic mod I'm using puts in a good amount of traffic. It makes them do some weird stuff, some realistically weird stuff. And coming over from American Truck Simulator, when I drive American Truck Simulator, so open, so empty. Obviously, most of it's highway driving as well, interstate highway driving. So you're not a ton of, stop and go traffic. But also not a ton of traffic on the roads at all, usually. Unfortunately. And I do hope they can get the game a little bit more efficient, running on these computers a little bit more efficient, so that we can get a little bit more dense traffic and not lose a ton of frame rate and the ability to even have it run on our computers. Okay, now where did that car come from? These guys just come out of nowhere. That's the third time I've been hitting around. Every time I go into a roundabout, someone darts into my lane as I enter. It's like I feel like I have to go into the 2 camera and just be on the outside because I can't see everywhere around me. I'm constantly getting hit. That's ridiculous. Wow. And what makes it more ridiculous is that they should stop. They should see me. I'm a big giant truck. I can't see them. They're a little tiny car and they plow into the side of me. Alright, we're headed to the harbor with a U. Since we are in Great Britain. I'm gonna die here. Gonna get hit. Ah, survived. Alright, going to the harbor. Gonna be crossing over to Great Britain, to the island of Britain, following this DHL. I don't know what kind of truck. What are you doing? What is this DHL truck doing? There's been some weird stuff going on at these roundabouts. Happened last night, coming into Belfast, and then now here. And I wonder if I'm just in the wrong lane every time. There's no signs telling me I'm in the wrong lane. But we are properly giving way to the traffic in the roundabout, and I know I haven't done that 100%. That probably the first accident today was that, and then obviously I drove up on those people at the red light. But that second one, I didn't see anyone coming, and then suddenly I have a car in my right-hand side. I'm gonna go up here because I feel like this guy's gonna yield all day, and those guys just ran into each other up there. Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense going on. Just sitting here waiting and waiting. I do like how people are in the wrong lane. To get out of the roundabout, they're in the left lane. Or they're in the right lane. Can I go? Probably not. I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get hit. Oh, look at that. Alright, now, are you gonna yield for me? Thank you. Look at that. I understand the concepts of roundabouts, but sometimes they're just... they very much favor the people in the roundabout, and if you're outside the roundabout and there's just a ton of traffic, you're never getting in. You're never getting through that intersection. I don't see anyone coming. I'm gonna go. Whoa, whoa! Thank you for yielding. Hello. Jeez. Just, it's like, this episode's giving me nightmares of China, giving me nightmares of where I live. Just going through roundabouts and constantly. I mean, you got to have your head. You got to be looking 360 basically, and looking up into the air and hoping a car doesn't land on top of you from space or something. Alright, we don't actually go on the boat for this ferry. We just kind of line up here in this kind of mess of a parking lot to go to Karen Ryan. That's how I'm going to say it. Larney to Karen Ryan, 2 hours, 350 euro. And of course, now we're in Britain. We're on the island of Britain. And what weather would we have? Well, of course, it is going to be raining. But of course. Very colorful trailers here. Another blasted roundabout. Welcome to Scotland. I never thought there would be so much, so many signs written in 2 languages in the UK. You don't think that would be the case, but it actually is. I'm sorry, I'm making it so this guy can't get by. I'll get out of your way. Sorry. But, I mean, you do have the Gaelic languages. I'm speaking out of my butt here. I have no idea the different languages of the British Isles. But obviously in Ireland, in Scotland, definitely Wales. Got some a little bit different names than the proper modern English we have now. We're now on the A77. We'll be cutting over and then we'll be headed north through Scotland. I didn't think we were going to be in Scotland right away. But Scotland is a rather large area. Alright, so we did gain a little bit of time back. We got about 10 hours of driving time and 10 hours, about 11 hours to get to our destination. So we'll either just barely make it or just be outside of where we're trying to get to. Stranraer. And no, I'm not going to try any Scottish accents or anything to try to say these names. gonna try to turn around to that car because obviously I'm still in the habit of driving on the right side of the road. That would have been pretty silly looking. Alright, we're back on the motorway. Not sure which one this is. Might be the M4, I think that's what I saw. So, I did promise I would get back into that story that I got kind of interrupted on at the end of last episode. Went for a bike ride, and they're tearing up all the roads in my town because it's September and a little bit cooler weather, and ripping everything up, but not really repairing anything. Not really repaving anything. I don't know why they're ripping this stuff up either, because the roads are perfectly fine. I mean, they're not cracked up or anything. So, just seems like unnecessary. Hey, we got to repave this because we got to do it because we said so. And they put cones out. And people just ignore the cones. They just drive through the, they'll close a section of the road and people just drive through that anyway. Or they'll close it off and make it go down to a one-lane road. And there was one spot that goes under, it's like the river road, goes along the river in this town, and it goes under a couple of bridges, and so it's a tight road. I mean, there's not a lot of extra room. It's basically 2 lanes and then maybe a sidewalk. And Chinese sidewalks are notoriously awful, because they're made of individual bricks and tile and crap, and so if it's wet at all, you'll just get water will squirt up as you walk on it. And they put trees in the sidewalks, and so usually it's impossible to walk on the sidewalk because there's about a 6-inch area where you can actually walk, and the rest of there's a tree in the middle of it. So, or the street lights or whatever it is. So there's a section that's going under the bridge, and they're doing some work under the bridge. Again, just tearing off the top layer and repaving it in just little sections, not the whole road, not like it's a big repave for the whole road, but just a little section where they decide, hey, we need to repave this here. Why? I don't know. Nothing different about that section of the road than anywhere else. Not like they took the manhole out or anything. And they strung cones across the road, or across the whole lane, saying, hey, there's road work going on ahead. In China, they use little blue signs. I mean, they're tiny little blue signs that say road work. You can't see them at night because they're blue. You can barely see them during the day because they're so small. They're smaller. They're about the size of a license plate, these signs. And what people usually do is they'll just go around the cones and they'll drive on the wrong side of the road, down the road that you've now closed one lane. They'll just drive on the other side of this road where it's only 2 lanes, one going each direction. So then you get the nice conundrum when you got oncoming you got the traffic they're in their actual correct lane, and then you got the other traffic coming at them, and it's like, well, where do we go? And they can't go anywhere because there's heavy machinery and they've torn up the road and they're laying down asphalt or whatever they're doing where they've closed it. But because they don't have enough, there just isn't enough of a deterrence to break the rules. There isn't, much reward for following the rules in China. People keep doing it. And what was funny about this one is that they had the cones strung out and they had the sign, and the sign said, road work ahead, and then it had a little speed limit. And it said 20. What just happened? What did someone just hit me again? I just got a bunch of it's driving me nuts. People just keep hitting me. I know I'm going 84. I'm going 7 under, or 13 under, but no reason to drive into me. So it has a speed limit. It says, it has the work zone speed limit, and it says 20 kilometers per hour. Little red circle in the 20. 20 kilometers per hour. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because the river road, usually the speed limit is usually between 40 and 50 kilometers per hour. I think the sign is 40. Problem is, most people usually go about 90 down that river road. They go as fast as they can, and they dart, again, very little reward to actually following the rules in China. So it says 20 right there. And this is an advanced sign. This is a sign that's up in advance before we get to the cones, actually, or before you get right up on the actual roadwork. Then right when you get on top of the roadwork, you can actually see the construction workers, or you can see the road torn up, you can see the trucks, the dump truck, whatever it is. There's a sign that says the speed limit is 60. Okay, so we went from 20, a work zone speed limit, cutting the speed limit from 40 down to 20. And now we're actually to the work zone, and there's a sign that says go 60, that the speed limit's 60. It's like, wait a second, that's 20 kilometers higher than the actual speed limit of the road when it's not under construction. It's like, who put that sign up? And you see this stuff all the time where it makes zero logical sense. It's like, what? Am I reading this wrong? Does this sign mean something else? I mean, you see some such questionable things that you start questioning your own sanity. So that's just one weird thing, and probably some other things slipped out of my head now that I had going there. Oh yeah, the other one was, so the other night we parked in a parking lot near our school, because there's just very little parking in the town I live in. There's very little parking overall in China. I mean, there's a lot of parking where you don't need parking, and there's no parking where you do need parking. It's sort of the New York City problem. Except there is a lot of area here where they could put parking, and they just leave an empty field of dirt and build a wall around it, but don't put anything in the empty field of dirt. They don't turn it into a park. They don't plant trees. They just have an empty field of dirt where you could build a parking lot and alleviate some of the parking problem. So we parked there, and we come back after our day of school, and we are now parked in by a Porsche. This guy parks here all the time. There's always Porsches and Jaguars. I mean, it's ridiculous how many of these kind of cars you see here in China, especially in the small town I live in. Well, there's right behind our parking spot. So we're parked facing the outside of the parking lot, and then along the side, and then there's parking spots in the middle that the cars are all parked at a 90-degree angle to what we are, right? They're turned perpendicular to us. Did I just kill my engine? I think I killed my engine. Let me get going here before I continue the story. It's a little hard to kind of think about the story and drive. So they don't so they have the parking spots all lined out, actually. Finally, they put lines down, because for the longest time, this parking lot was just kind of like a free, just a bunch of pavement, and everyone just parked wherever. So they put the lines down, and you have to imagine it's kind of a little bit of a rectangular area, and you have cars parked along the outside, perpendicular to the outside, right? Now on the inside, you have obviously parked perpendicular in relation to those cars on the outside. So you can drive through, and to get around, what they did is they didn't put parking spots on the inside angle. So when you're trying to drive, you can still get your car around to drive around this little kind of loop. And it's kind of like a little small little rest area kind of thing, right? Well, people don't follow the rules in China. And so they park, one guy parks in the last spot, and then another guy parks outside of a spot, which isn't a spot, and then another guy parks outside of him, and so we're parked in. Now there is enough gap where you can back out, and you could drive a car through there, but it's very, very hard to back your car out and turn it. And luckily, where we were, I was able to maneuver it and get it out without being stuck. But anyone who was to the left of me, they would have been completely stuck, because they would have backed out and they would have backed right into the Porsche. They wouldn't have been able to turn their car on tight enough an angle. So we call the guy. And a lot of people leave their phone numbers on a little slip of paper on their windshield, so you can call them, because there is such a such a scarcity of parking spots that people tend to park people in. So we call him and we say, "Hey, you need to move your Porsche. We can't get out without hitting you." And this is my wife speaking and talking to him in Chinese, obviously, both of them being Chinese. We just discovered Perth, Scotland. And she says this, and the guy responds, "Oh, well, I can't move it. It's too bad. I'm in Hangzhou, 90 miles away." Something, yeah, about 90 miles away. And I kind of shout over that, like, "Hey, if he doesn't want, holy cow, can we slow down?" I don't know what I did there. I think I was pushing the clutch in, so my engine brake wasn't working. And I kind of shout over that it's like, if he doesn't want to get his Porsche dinged up, he better get someone to move it, because he parked like a ding dong, and I can't get out, and I will back out, and I don't care if I get a little dent on the back of my car, He's gonna be the one that's gonna be kind of pissed off that he has a big old dent and scratch on the back end of his car, of his Porsche. Well, he says, "Oh, you got to understand that this is China. This isn't how, foreigners need to understand that this is China, where we don't follow the rules." And I just lose my mind on that. It's like, really? Don't have to follow the rules? Which basically opens it up that I can just slam my car into his Porsche and key his Porsche or whatever. It's like, why do I have to follow the rules, right? So what rules apply? Because if I slam into your Porsche backing out, you're gonna want restitution for that, right? But it doesn't matter that you parked like a ding-dong in a spot that's not actually a parking spot, and inconvenienced and made it impossible for anyone else to get out, in or out. So that's the typical response in China when you call someone on their bullshit. They're like, "Oh, well, this is China. You should learn that we don't follow the rules here." Which is really annoying, because I've lost almost all my driving points, because China's incredibly strict with speed limits, where they have speed cameras. And they have speed cameras. They're few and far between, the speed cameras, but if you get caught by the speed camera going anything over the speed limit, you lose 3 points off your license. You get 12 points per year. You lose 3 points, boom, like that, plus the fine. And I keep losing points for these silly infractions, like, "Oh, you drove through the left turn lane." I drove through the left turn lane because the people in the lane that I was trying to move over to, because they designed the roads really silly, where, for example, right here we have this 2-lane highway we're on. If they wanted to have a left turn lane, the left lane will turn into the left turn lane, and then a right little lane will kind of jut out and become an extra lane. So to me, what I think is that, okay, you're in the right lane, you then merge over to that right lane. If you're in the left lane, you merge over to the middle lane to continue going straight, or if you want to turn left, you stay in the left lane and go left, right? Well, 99% of drivers in the town I live in, and in most places where I've driven in China, they're in the right lane, they stay in the right lane, and then they move into the middle lane because they just stay straight. They don't move over. So now that right lane is completely useless. No one moves over there. If you're in the left lane and you don't want to turn left, you're screwed because you can't move over. You turn your blinker on, no one lets you in. Semis almost run into you, or they just... And so then, to not kill everyone, I stay in the left turn lane and I get fined and penalized. Because, you know, doing the right thing usually costs you money and points in China, whereas driving like a complete idiot, nothing ever happens to you. I mean, most people here drive with their face in their phone 95% of the time, and I can't tell you how many times I've almost gotten in car accidents because of that. I've almost been hit by cars while walking or riding my bike, and it's quite frustrating. And you know, and then I come up on here onto Euro Truck Simulator or onto American Truck Simulator and end up getting into some of the same crap. Alright, I'm going to pull over here at this service station and call it a night, and then in the morning hopefully be able to drive and see some more of the scenery, because I feel like we're driving, or at least we were, probably once we go forward it won't be driving any scenery, but felt like we were driving through some nice scenery. Definitely winding around along the coast there. So I'm going to pick up some gas and then we'll take a well-deserved rest. Alrighty. Oh, that was a long way through the dark rain of Scotland. But maybe next episode you'll be able to see the final leg of this journey. And until next time, this is Euro Truck Simulator 2. I'm Martin Wenzel. Happy trucking!